Hey, welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner, your favorite AI coaches at SimTrain, talking about human development and the impact of coaching and training to really push the envelope of what people are capable of, both from a mental as well as physical, technical, and skill set perspective. So I'm excited today. We have Sandra Gaviria, and I'm going to let her pronounce that herself. It sounds way better. And so Sandra is a language coach, an ontology coach, and I'm really excited to talk about areas which she is leaning in to help develop people's talents and their skills. But Sandra, maybe you can do a little bit of an introduction of yourself and your background on coaching and training as well, and pronunciation.
Okay. Hi, Dan. Very happy to be here with you in this podcast. So I'm originally from Colombia. I studied languages, and so that's what I've been doing my entire life, basically. I studied to become an English and French teacher, and after getting my degree, I went to the US to get my master's degree in teaching English to students of other languages. And upon my return to Colombia, I started working at a university, private university here in Medellin, Colombia, where I currently live. And I was in the education sector basically my entire life. Most of that time as a coordinator for an English program for adults. And 2 years ago, I was recruited by a staffing and recruiting company based out of Houston, and that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years. So I went from being in the administration as a coordinator for 22 years, being responsible for a team of like 100 teachers, responsible for curriculum development, to now being a one-on-one language coach at a small startup, basically, because it's a very small company in recruiting and staffing. And I really love what I do now.
I love it. And I love the transition from education, right, where you're teaching people and they're learning back to business and coaching and you're still developing talent at the same time around language and language skills. I'm curious, Sandra, would you share with us maybe from your perspective some of the things that you think correlate and maybe some of the things that are different around developing a learner who's in an education environment's ability to speak a language versus transferring that into a business setting where an employee, or maybe in this case, because it's, recruiting and staffing, maybe a future candidate maybe needs to work on specific skills. Is there things that you think are uniquely different as you're working with your constituents or your customers today?
Very much. It was a huge change for me. I
Uh-huh.
actually got sick the first week I started working in the company because I thought, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Like, I have no idea of this industry. I was in the education industry for my entire professional life, and now I'm here like learning from zero, like from scratch about recruiting. And so I felt like I needed to also learn myself about that new world to me. And I gradually started to understand the needs of my coachees because they are also Colombian. Their English level is not like a C1 or C2. So that's why I was hired in the first place. The president of our company saw that need. Like, I need a language coach that can have one-on-one sessions with each one of them, cater to their needs, but I need someone with the experience, teaching, but also understanding that coaching is not the same as teaching, that there's got to be a level of, identification of those individual needs, and based on those needs, to build a program. Because when I was hired, there was nothing. I had to build everything from the ground up. And so I take pride in that because when I was hired, there was nothing. And so I had to start learning. I found out, like, by the end of the second week, that recruiters had a script that they needed to follow because I
Yeah.
thought that they were being very like fluent. But then I realized, oh, there's something weird here. And so I asked someone, like, do they have a script? And that person said, yeah, they have a script. Okay, please, can you send it to me? So I
Let me see it.
Yeah, let me see it. Nobody told me there was a script, so I had to start like discovering things on my own and, learning from like intuition, like a lot of the things that I started doing as a coach.
Yeah, I love it. And there's three things that you're talking about that I truly really love. I love aligning the application of language coaching to the use, right? And saying, hey, I should probably get my hands on some of these scripts and some of the content that these recruiters are going to be using, because it's less about can I teach them how to say words, but can they apply those words into, their environment, which I love. I'd love to dig in a little bit on that, as well as when you talk about, being a teacher and a trainer versus a coach. You're mentioning these one-on-one sessions versus building a program at scale. So I don't know if those are separate topics for you and we can address them, sequentially, but I'd really love to get your feedback on, the application of knowledge and the application of language skills to the job and how impactful that is for them to be able to learn, some of these new skills that you're teaching them. And then the difference between doing one-on-one coaching versus how do I build a program at scale. Sandra, if you could share with our, our,
Um,
our audience.
so when you work at an institution and people go and they enroll in your program, what you offer them is a general program that
Yep.
can apply to the general public. So that's what we offered at this institution I worked for. Like anyone can enroll, but we have a one size fits all program. When you are coaching, basically you develop different programs to cater for different needs. And so that's what I have been doing for the past 2 years. I cater for individual needs. However, when it comes to, let me go back. I have
Mhm.
two type of employees, one that works for the support areas of the company. So let's say the finance area, the continuous improvement area, the HR department. And so those are support areas. And I teach them based on their needs, but I teach them also, okay, if you have a meeting, this is maybe what you're supposed to say when you make a request. This is so in language teaching, we call that a functional curriculum, meaning we have different functions of the language, and for
Yep.
different moments, this is the type of language, the type of expressions that you can use to make requests, to complain, to ask for a favor, to apologize. So that's what I teach these people in these support areas. But I also adapt it to their department. So if you're in the finance department, I teach you expressions so that you can talk about petty cash, so you can talk about payroll. If you are in continuous improvement, I also change the terminology. And so this functional language, I adapt to, each person's job title at the company and an area. Now, when it comes to recruiters, it's different because they need to be talking to candidates. So we have like very specific criteria that their leader wants for them to be able to improve every time I have a session with them. So we go over some of the calls. We keep in mind that criteria. Why did you say this here? Maybe you can say better here. So it's also more about soft skills and not just language. Their ability to actively listen to candidates, their ability to build rapport. So it goes beyond language. And that's where AI has been very important in what I do, not just with these support teams,
Yep.
but also with recruiters.
Yeah.
My job is
I
AI, basically.
Yeah, I'd love to get into that a little bit because, at SimTrain, we're AI coaching, right? We're really in immersed into this concept of adaptive learning, which is what you were talking about on the education side. But then more importantly, even targeting that learning towards this, like, what are people doing today? I need to assess where they're at and make it metrics based, and continuous coaching, is the phrase we like to use internally. And I love how you talk about the translation of that between education and training in a curriculum, functional curriculum basis over towards in the corporate world. very targeted, specific metrics-based coaching. And yeah, you were starting to say, hey, a lot of what I'm doing to get this metrics based and these outcomes and this focus leverages AI. I'd love to hear more about that and what you're doing with AI today, Sandra.
So with our own criteria that the recruiting leader said, okay, this is what I want to assess in my recruiters' calls with candidates. And
Yep.
so they were able to retrieve those different interviews from teams and then starts the analysis with the criteria that the recruiting leader set for each call to to be assessed. And
Yep.
so there is this spider web diagram that we get to see. It's from 0 to 10. So it's very cool when, for you to be able to discuss with the candidate, okay, so for this particular criterion, you are at a 6. And let's read why it's not an 8 or it's not a 10 and what it is that you need to do. We go back to the recording. We discuss options to improve it next time. There's also this other way to look at the analysis, and it's called a roadmap. And
Yep.
so what you can analyze in the roadmap is the different segments in the call with the same criteria. So in this first segment of the call, and in light of this particular criterion, this is how you did. And maybe this is what you can do to do it better. And so that's the type of analysis that we do. And when I have my one-on-ones with the recruiters, that's what we review. We go over the call, we look at the different criteria. I set goals for them. Okay, how about you focus on these next time? Because I don't want them to feel overwhelmed. So I just choose one goal. Okay, so if this was the lowest, then try to
Yep.
work on these so that next time that we check again to see if you have made some progress. I don't want them to just focus on everything because it's just impossible and they would just get overwhelmed. It would not be achievable. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and what I love about that too, right, is this concept of coaching around the analytics. So we were having these sessions. Let's analyze what's happening. Let's kind of map it out to skill sets. And you talked about a spider diagram that's probably about 8 different factors in there.
Yeah.
And that focus on, hey, here are the things you need to improve on, and here's some suggestions of how. And then where sim training comes in or AI coaching exercises. Now, like actual practice those skill sets, right? And can I give you exercises to actually work on it and get better so you can apply that and make it really pragmatic in continuing to improve. What's your take on recruiters, willingness to continue to focus on those areas of improvements, and how do you motivate them to continue to want to get better, Sandra?
Well, to be honest, when we first implemented this tool, it's not easy for everyone because
Yep.
when making changes to the way you do things is not easy for everyone. So I just try to focus on the positive, not on the negative. I try to highlight also their strengths and try to help them see that this is not in any way a tool that is going to be used against them as a punishment or as something that is going to help us maybe find reasons to fire them, because some people might be afraid of that, like,
Right.
fire me, like, oh, so you do listen to my recording. It's like, oh, because one day someone said that to me, oh, so you actually listen to the recruiters recordings. Yeah, we do
Yeah.
that because we want to help you. We want to help you improve and become the best version that you can be of you know your version as a recruiter. And so that's what I try to do.
I love it. Hey, so if you think about your career, right, moving from, the educational side of in school type of curriculum over to the corporate world, what would you say, and maybe even your own as a learner, right? What would you say is the impact you've seen on people from the difference between having a great coach and being able to go through that journey versus having to kind of figure it out on your own, or the difference? Like what's the most meaningful to you, Sandra?
So what I was telling you before we started this interview, the reason why I decided to study ontological coaching was exactly what I started to see in my sessions, in my one-on-one sessions, that sometimes people didn't really want to focus on so much on language. They wanted to talk about themselves, what was going on in their lives, personal and at work. So I said like, oh my God, like I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, but here I am having these very profound conversations and people trusting me and sharing all that information that is so intimate. And so I felt a huge responsibility on my shoulders. And I said, I need to study something that gives me the tools to be able to listen to people, and instead of giving them my advice, and and I'm not entitled to give anyone advice because each person has his or her own life, and my experience cannot help you maybe in it's just my point of view, but I'm not in your shoes. So that's the most beautiful thing that I've learned as a language coach at this company, to study ontological coaching, to really create this safe space for my coachees, to create this environment where they feel safe, heard. As you guys say in English, like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Like,
You don't say that in Spanish or any other language, just English?
no, it's like
Okay.
exactly like what we talk about here
Yep.
stays here.
Stays
Like,
here. Right. I love it.
yes. And so I think that that's been part of my success as a language coach, making them feel that they matter and that they can be heard when they talk to me, and that they are a human being just as the human being that I am, and that I love them and respect them for that.
And I'll tell you, Sandra, what I love and respect about you and your journey is when you got into the corporate world and you realized, hey, I'm working with these humans and these people who they want to share with me and maybe go a little bit deeper. You actually took a whole nother layer of coaching onto ontological. Go ahead.
Ontological.
Ontological. Go ahead one more time.
Ontological.
Ontological.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Ontological coaching tied to your language coaching, right? And one of our core values, and I'm going to learn how to pronounce that word because continuous learning and improvement at SimTrain is really important to us. And it seems like you've really, taken that on your career. A couple big things that you've shared with us today, right? Adaptive learning, right? Immersive learning, helping people, learn how to apply these skills, whether it's language skills or whatever those skills are. Change is hard and it's difficult. So how do I help people navigate through that? And then really assessing, right? And analyzing and assessing and tying coaching back to those individuals. It sounds like an awesome career. We learned a lot from you today. Sandra, for us who are getting to know you, what is something that most people can't go online and look at LinkedIn or look at your profile that is a fun fact or something most people don't know about you?
I love singing.
Love it.
So yeah, I used to, because I haven't gotten together with them lately, but I used to have like this band. It's just a group of teacher friends, and we play together. So I love singing. And so since I don't have that anymore, or I haven't had that this year, I signed up for drumming lessons. So I'm
Nice.
studying, but these kind of drums that they play in Salvador, Bahia, in Brazil. So
Hmm.
those are the type of drums that I'm learning how to play and having a blast. It's
I
like
love it. So what
it's
do we need to do to bring the band back together? How do we do that?
no, I don't know how to motivate them. Like it's so sad. Yeah.
Maybe that safe space that you try to create for people as they're training, you could do the same thing with your ex-bandmates and motivate them back into a safe space. Anything for us around maybe a favorite book that you would suggest or even a movie that you really enjoyed?
Okay, I really like a movie, and it's called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I really
Nice.
like that movie. Not because he was a daydreamer. Maybe I sometimes daydream also a little, but like the ability to go from daydreaming to actually live and build the life that you want to live. I just find that movie so inspirational. I just love it.
I love it. I love it.
And the book, The Power
Yeah.
of Moments.
The
I read
what?
The Power of Moments. I don't know if you've read that book.
Power of Moments. No, not yet.
I forgot the author right now, but it's two brothers.
Yep.
The Keith, well, I forgot. But I think that we can actually, and I think now that I come to think of it, the movie that I like the most and this book have that in common. It's like you can build the life that you want for yourself. Don't wait for things to happen, just make them happen.
Don't wait for them to happen, just make them happen. Yeah, and so I love that. So anything you'd like to share with us, anywhere people can follow you or look at your work and find you online?
But yeah, sure. You can follow me in LinkedIn. You can find me as Sandra Gaviria, my name. Let me see. I forgot how you can find me, but it's Sandra Gaviria. If you check my name, it's just Sandra Gaviria.
Sandra G, I think, actually on LinkedIn.
Oh, maybe you can, yeah, if you Google it, you're gonna see me like that. But if you
Yep.
actually go and friend me, uh,
Awesome.
you can find me as Sandra Gaviria.
Well, I'm glad I friended you and got to know you. And Ann Morales told us, I think Chip and Dan were the two brothers
Yes.
in the Power of Moments that wrote that book. So awesome conversation, Sandra. Thank you for taking your time for our audience today and talk a little bit more about coaching and the power of human development. I really appreciate and great meeting you today.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Bye, everyone.